Yi Wang's worst possible average will still get him at least
off.
second.
Maybe a small look up. Oh, E-Perm? No!
Max Park is your world champion!
What?
Yi Wang's lost it! Max Park wins by 0.01!
No way!
Leading up to the most shocking loss in the Rubik's Cube World Championships history, 9-year-old Yi Wang was invincible, out of nowhere securing rank 1 in Asia and becoming the youngest world number 1 ever just months later. All that was left was world champion. All he needed on this final solve was a 6.04, something he had done over 80% of the time since the beginning of the year. 652 days later, after what's still regarded as the wildest finish in cubing history, these are Yi Wang's odds to win the 2025 World Championship. Yi is so far ahead of everyone else that his odds of winning are 115 times higher than current world champion Max Park. In a field where the median age of predicted finalists is 17, this is unlike anything we've ever seen. But that's without the kid who's 3 years younger than him. 8-year-old Xuanyi Geng just stole the world record from Yi, and despite how absurdly unexpected this moment was, it's not the reason he's about to become the youngest world champion ever. It's because Xuanyi is improving at an inhuman rate. I've heard people talk about Xuanyi's improvement, but nobody has any idea how absurd it actually is. Current world champion Max Park has seen a tiny, almost unnoticeable amount of improvement since beating Yi in 2023, and ranks 3 and 4 Timon and Ruihong's improvement shows just how difficult it is to get faster once you reach their level. Timon has improved the most out of the three, but current number 1 in the world Yi Wang has seen what many have described to be the single fastest improvement rate in cubing history. He was already world number 1 when he lost in 2023, but going into his chance at redemption, he somehow hasn't slowed down at all. And then there's the 8-year-old child, who will be the doom of us all. Because directly after Worlds 2023, Xuanyi wasn't remotely close to Yi level. And to be fair, no one was. But over the course of the last 19 months, Xuanyi has reached a rate of improvement that more than doubles Yi We have never seen a progression rate remotely close to this one. Because for 99% of people who even reach sub 6, there's usually a huge plateau before they get anywhere near 5.5. Yi was the first to disprove this by smashing through both the 5.5 and 5 flat barriers with ease. But even then, not nearly as quickly as Xuanyi did. And the scary part is that he's not slowing down at all. As Xuanyi continues downward at this insane trajectory, the terrifying thing people will begin to realize is that no one alive right now might ever catch him. Which leads us to believe that there has to be something different about Xuanyi, something that nobody in the history of the sport has ever had. You see, Xuanyi is actually at the top of a different list that tends to indicate when someone is going to be really, really good. On a stage like the World Championship Final, where just 5 solves determine your fate, there's a stat that's extremely telling in terms of who's most reliable in these moments. At the top of a list comparing the consistency levels of the fastest in the world, it's a lot closer than you might think. Of course, Yi still in the top 3, and even more consistent than him is Timon Kołaszyński, which shouldn't come as a surprise since he finished 3rd at the 2023 World Championship. But the most consistent speedcuber on the planet is Xuanyi, with an average variance between results of 0.36. It's not just a theory. In a head-to-head situation like the World Championship, Xuanyi will be more consistent than Yi, less of a chance to get an unusually good average, but also less of a chance to do this when it matters most. But how? How is he more consistent than everyone else, while also improving faster than everyone else? Well, because no matter how insane this might seem to say, Xuanyi was, from the very beginning, designed to be impossible to beat. Xuanyi and Timon, the 2 most consistent cubers in the world, both use the ZB method, labeled as pretty much impossible to compete with at a high level up until around a year ago. The only way to reach this level of consistency is to use the ZB method. It's a miracle Yi is even up here to begin with, because he doesn't use it. But this ranking is also very telling as to how Xuanyi has achieved this absurd improvement arc. Here's the thing, it's basically impossible for him to ever hit a wall in improvement, because he's going down a path that no one has ever taken before. Xuanyi simply won't plateau at the same spot as anyone else before him. It's easy to say there will always be someone younger who will just come and overtake Xuanyi, but when you start at age 4, with the most complex method and an immediate focus on being the best in the world, how could there be? He is the perfect example of what happens when perfect knowledge meets a perfect situation. with the highest odds to take down the most dominant Rubik's Cube solver of all time at 21%. He's put us in a situation where the likelihood of anyone not named Xuanyi or Yihang winning Worlds is so small, it would quite literally be a miracle. But that's just if we use results from the last 12 months. If we go even more recent, like the last 6 months, Xuanyi's odds increase because of how fast he's improving. In fact, exactly 6 months ago, we actually saw these two go head-to-head at the 2024 Asian Championship, where we learned a lot about how they might perform under pressure at Worlds. Xuanyi was seemingly unfazed, getting a result that was around his average at the time, good enough for second place. But who came in first place? Oh yeah, Yihang Wang somehow outperformed all expectations and shattered every narrative about him crumbling under pressure by pulling off one of his fastest averages ever in the highest pressure situation since he lost Worlds. A result so good that only one other person has beaten it since then. That person is, of course, Xuanyi Geng. While Yihang or Xuanyi are almost guaranteed to win with over 90% odds to do so, there is just one thing that could give literally anyone else a tiny chance. What very few people noticed is that in 2023, 4 out of world champion Max Park's 5 solves were done starting with either white or yellow. It seemed that everyone, including Yihang and Xuanyi, were disregarding the other 4 colors to allow for more focus on just those 2. This is the strategy that is agreed upon to be the most successful at the highest level. So if colors other than white or yellow are especially good, the fight for third becomes much more than what it sounds, because arguably the 2 main candidates for the final podium spot both solve on all 6 colors instead of just white or yellow. This makes Matti Hiroto Inaba and Timon Koleshinsky the wild cards for the 2025 World Championship. Timon comes in right behind Yihang and Xuanyi, but Matti's given him an insane run for his money on multiple occasions, and is still due for a result that's representative of how good he actually is. Could it be possible, in some reality, that colors other than white or yellow are so good that it gives Matti and Timon the opportunity of a lifetime? Nobody knows when Xuanyi is going to hit his peak. The level of pressure Yihang is facing is one he's never seen before, because he's fighting for a win he should have already had. Xuanyi is in the perfect position with absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. And if he somehow does end up pulling it off, the title of youngest world champion ever will quite literally be his forever. You know what else can be yours forever? My merch. It's right down there. Just came out, shout out Speedcube Shop, use code STU, and if you do, you know what I will gift you? That was off the dome, by the way. It's right across the chest. I can always remind you every single day. You can remind yourself, if you wear my merch, that you are, in fact, still slower than a 6-year-old, somehow. Also, shout out Aaron Neesmith, man. If you know, you know. I predicted Pacers in 5 both times, and it happened both times. So why can't it happen in the NBA Finals? We're going all the way. Pacers in 4. Yeah, in 4. But I don't know why I said that. If you keep it with the NBA, you vibe with that. But anyway, besides that, that's about it. See ya.